Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. We talk a lot about the Jedi Order on this channel. We've looked at how they work as an organization, what their strengths and weaknesses are. We've talked about how they're not really the perfect organization everyone makes them out to be. But we never really talked about why the Jedi Order was started in the first place. It's not just some kind of organization that educates young Force users. There's actually a deeper ideology and reason why this was created. So there are some individuals in the galaxy that are Force sensitive but never became a Jedi or Sith. Either because they were hidden away or because they refused to join this organization, or at least their parents refused to give them off. But I would argue it's much better for a Force user to join an organization. I mean, think about what a Force user is, what they're capable of. We see them as heroes oftentimes because of George Lucas's pro-Jedi propaganda. These were individuals who can manipulate an invisible energy that can manipulate the world around it. This means they had an incredible amount of power at their disposal, which made them incredibly dangerous fighters. A Force user can even change the biochemistry in another living being, which means that they can do all sorts of unethical things like erase a person's memories, or trick them into doing things, or just read their minds. They could even assassinate people by stopping their hearts or choking them from far away. Even in the Star Wars galaxy, where you have so many varied alien species with very crazy skills and abilities, Force users were still unique and in a league of their own. But on a wider galactic scale, Force users were extremely rare. I'm sure you had some species with higher rates of Force sensitivity than others, but basically most people in the galaxy, even during the height of the Republic and Jedi Order, probably never got to see one of these superheroes in person. And then during the Galactic Empire, when they were basically all wiped out or in hiding, people more or less forgot about the Force, the Jedi, and the ones that still remembered them saw them as kind of myths or fantasy tales. And so Force users have always been a small minority group. So most individuals in the galaxy will never actually run into a Jedi in person, and so any information they really have on them will have to come through books, HoloNet, or government sources, which of course could paint them in a really bad light and completely skew them. This is called a stereotype. And so Force users who use their powers for bad things like murdering and stealing could heavily damage the image of all Force users. The fact that they have unlimited power already makes them very scary to the average citizen in the galaxy. Just look at how the mutants were treated in the X-Men cinema universe. All it took were some bad actors to strike against humanity, and all of a sudden, every mutant was declared enemy number one, and later on a concentration camp was created and the mutants were herded together for destruction. The Jedi Order, especially later iterations of the Jedi Order, realized that they had to really cultivate this very positive image towards the public, and this required a lot of rules, regulations, and self-discipline. Despite being an extremely powerful individual, the Jedi were still heavily outnumbered by the rest of the galaxy, and so maintaining good PR was paramount. A lot of people have been accusing me of looting Jedi corpses post-Order 66, which is like just repulsive. That's a lie, and it's evil. I got this Jedi not from a Jedi corpse, but from ownersaber.com. Look how awesome this thing is. Ownersaber.com is a great place to get yourself a beautiful saber for your own personal collection. No dangerous trips to a loom where you face your inner weaknesses or lifelong allegiances to the Jedi Order are necessary. And right now they have three main categories of blades. First, you have the dueling blades. So these are going to be some of the more simpler designs that they have on offer. These are the lighter and better balanced blades. They're really fun to kind of swing around and you can really whack them. They're pretty durable. Then there are the higher quality Profi board and Xenopixel lightsabers. These are going to be the more expensive premium blades. They're a lot heavier than the dueling blades, especially in the saber area. As you can see, there's individual LED strips inside of this, which is why you can get all sorts of cool little configurations on how you want your lightsaber to look. From now until April 8th, every blade is 20% off, and plus they'll give you a free display stand with your purchase. It won't show up on your checkout page, they'll just ship it directly with your blade. Also, for an additional 10% off, use our promo code MEOW, that's all caps. Thank you for your patience, on to the rest of the video. Throughout history, there have been many Force-related organizations, ranging from the Order of Dai Bendu and Jedi Order to the Jedi and Sith. And at least initially, it seems like the main purpose of these organizations was to teach Force users how to use their abilities and control them. The Jedi specifically came from a group called the Jedi, who believed in balancing the Force within an individual. This meant that their adherents would learn about both the dark and light side. When a member of the Jedi became too extreme to one side, they were usually quarantined until they could balance themselves out. So as you can see, even early on, the Jedi realized the dangers of the Force when it went to one extreme or another, which is why from the very beginning, these organizations were actually created to safeguard the world from dangerous Jedi that might, lose their cool and start murdering and massacring people. The Jedi at first kept themselves isolated from the galaxy. They would spend their days trying to unlock the secrets of the Force and perfect their teachings. This was really a wonderful time period for Force science. It was almost like an enlightenment period where there was no dogma from the Sith or the Jedi to restrict what one could do. But several Jedi would begin focusing solely on the dark side of the Force, leading to a great schism within the Jedi. These dark side adherents would one day become the Sith. Fueled by hatred and chaos, they would wage war against the Republic and the Jedi. The schism would harden the Jedi's resolve and make them much more afraid and distrustful of dark side worshippers. It became paramount for the Jedi High Council to prevent the next generation of Jedi from falling into that same trap. And so the Jedi Order would come up with pretty restrictive rules designed to prevent that from happening. A lot of these rules were designed to make sure that all new recruits were blank slates so that they could be indoctrinated at a very young age to the Jedi ideology. It was also important to make sure that they were isolated from their original family so the Jedi would be the only family that they know. The teachings themselves were all about self-control, discipline, and the suppression of emotions. Basically everything that makes you a human being, or a sentient being. Great emphasis was placed on fighting against the dark side, but the Jedi were so fearful of the dark side that they would just keep all Sith holocrons, artifacts, and documents locked away in the archives. In a way, no one was more afraid of Force users and the dark side than the Jedi. This is probably one of the reasons why during the Clone Wars many Jedi Masters and Jedi Knights struggled against the Sith. They had never seen a Sith or practiced against one, and they were basically forbidden to study them their whole entire lives. During the High Republic, the Jedi Order experienced a golden age. Their recruitment numbers were up, and their presence in the galaxy greatly increased as well. More and more people recognized the Jedi as a symbol of everything good. These were protectors and saviors of the weak and the innocent. But just a few hundred years later, the last of the Jedi were being hunted down as enemies of the state. When Mace Windu and a few other Jedi confronted Palpatine in his office and attempted to kill him, this gave Palpatine all of the ammunition he needed to start a war against the Jedi and carry out Order 66. This was exactly what the Jedi had feared, and the results were more terrifying than any of them could ever imagine. I mean, some people in the Republic did try to help the Jedi, but most individuals were apathetic or fell in line with the Empire. And so the Jedi were destroyed. Because ultimately, no matter how many lives the Jedi positively affected, most people still saw them as somewhat strange, dangerous, and different from themselves. It's kind of weird to think of the Jedi as some small, persecuted minority, but by the time the Galactic Empire rose to power, that's exactly what they were. No different from the mutants in the X-Men cinema-verse. And so the Jedi Order was ultimately created not only to protect the galaxy from the evils of the Sith, it was also created to protect the image of the Jedi. This is very similar to what the true Mandalorians did when they created the Super Commando Codex. This was also designed to rein in some of the more aggressive members of their organization and improve their image throughout the galaxy. It's very likely that in the early days of the Republic, or even pre-Republic, that Force users were just routinely persecuted and killed because they were different. I mean, this is kind of what happens in society. I mean, look at what happened to the Salem witches. They were all burnt to the stake. Imagine if they were still alive today, we could use their magical powers to solve so many problems. And you can still see some pretty negative views against Force users on worlds like Serrano. This is mainly because Force users in the past attacked the planet, and the nobles there had to resist against them. And so the Jedi were always one step ahead of the game. They realized that there was a larger peer battle being waged that was equally as important to stopping the Sith. So there you have it, guys. That is why the Jedi Order was actually created. It wasn't just an organization to teach people things. It was designed to protect the Jedi and everyone around them. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below. My name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.